Welcome to An Alternate Hugh. I'm Hugh Anderson, and this is somewhat caught my attention recently. So John Entwistle, Keith Moon, Pete Townsend, and Roger Daltrey made up a little band from the 1960s British invasion called The Who. And one of their biggest hits and one of my personal favorites was We Won't Get Fooled Again. Well, gentlemen, I'll take that bet. Picture, if you will, a world where you can trust nothing because nothing is real. Well, Rod Serling fans, we have arrived. You may recognize this gentleman as Edward Herrmann, a prolific actor who appeared in many TV shows, movies, and narrated dozens of audiobooks. His latest is called Viking Warrior, and it just might be his most interesting yet. Why, you ask? Because he's been deceased since 2014. But that hasn't prevented him from being the voice of Viking Warrior. Mr. Herrmann's latest work is generated by Deep Zen Limited, a London-based artificial intelligence startup that was given access to the actor's past recordings with his family's permission. From that treasure trove of voice data, Deep Zen said it's able to generate any sound and intonation that Mr. Herrmann would have used if he were narrating these new books himself. The family felt it was an amazing way to carry on his legacy and were astonished when they first listened to an audiobook featuring their father's synthetic voice. So the next time you get really angry at something you see or hear on social media, step one, pinch yourself and say, this may not be real. Now let's visit another popular myth as it comes crashing down around us. For a very long time, we've heard that the American dream of homeownership is dead. The younger generation just can't make ends meet, can't escape renting, can't find a job or career that pays enough, and. Well, this just in. That's right. Millennial homeowners outnumbered millennial renters for the first time last year despite creeping interest rates and a tight real estate market. Richmond, Virginia, Las Vegas, Nevada, not New Mexico, and Milwaukee have seen the country's highest spikes in millennial homeownership. The average millennial bought their new home at 34, compared to 33 for us boomers and 32 for Gen Xers. And that little band, The Who, once said, the kids are all right, and it appears they absolutely are. Now this from Bjorn Lomborg. No climate denier is he. Climate change is real and man-made, according to Lomborg, and it will have negative impacts overall. That's a fact, and it's one that we hear a lot, of course. But the catastrophe narrative, according to him, is drowning out many other relevant facts about climate change. For example, that 98% fewer people are dying from climate-related disasters today than they did a century ago, and that net zero emission policy goals are eye-wateringly costly. And to what end? And more importantly, what else is being crowded out? Now, the following charts show actual climate trends that are very different from what we hear all the time. So let's start with hurricanes. It seems every hurricane season brings the worst in history, so bad it leads to wonderful movies like Sharknado. In fact, hurricanes of 2022 were close to unprecedented, but only in their weakness, according to Lomborg. Globally, 2022 had the second weakest batch of hurricanes in the era of satellite data, which goes back to 1980. It also had the fourth fewest Category 3 and above in the same period, and the eighth fewest hurricanes overall. But you don't hear that on the Weather Channel. Hurricanes have not been getting stronger globally. The average energy per hurricane has remained constant in the satellite era. Another narrative that is forever getting media airtime is the poor polar bear. Darn, they're cute. Climate activists have used this iconic image of looming apocalypse as when Al Gore's influential film An Inconvenient Truth showed a sad animated polar bear floating away to its death. Or when the Washington Post in 2004, citing alarmist statements from the World Wildlife Fund, claimed that polar bears could face extinction. Now, the best data on polar bear population comes from the official assessments of polar bear specialist scientists. They estimate the global population today is somewhere between 22,000 and 31,000, clearly higher than the 12,000 they estimated in the 1960s. Even the newest data referenced in the latest report from polar bear specialist researchers show that polar bear numbers are increasing, not decreasing. It looks like they've learned how to swim. So this week, we've tackled how nothing's real. We determined that hardworking youngins are making their own way, and we have the data to prove it, the real kind. And it's not the worst ever for polar bears or hurricanes and other stuff. So just like the WHO told us, That's it for this week. Keep your eyes peeled for the next wave of economic data and whether the stock or bond market is right about what we can expect in coming months. Until next time, stay healthy, happy, hug a polar bear, and I'm Hugh Anderson, and this has been An Alternate Hugh.